Hi, first graders. Welcome back to the Problem Solvers Club. In the Problem Solvers Club, we read stories and help solve the problem in the book. Today, we're going to practice the first step of solving a problem, which is to empathize with the main character in a new story. In the Problem Solvers Club, we are going to be solving problems that characters are having to deal with in books. But what is a problem? A problem is something that goes wrong. A problem might be if you were running and you tripped and you fell and you cut your leg and you needed a Band-Aid. That's an example of a problem. How can problems be solved? Problems can be solved in different ways. One of these ways is using the design thinking process or steps. Each part of the design thinking process has a different step to help us solve a problem, and we are going to learn about each step. The design thinking process is steps that people can use to solve problems in the real world. In the Problem Solvers Club, we are going to use it to help characters solve problems in the books we read. The first step in the design thinking process, which is a process that helps us solve a problem, is to empathize. Empathize means to think about how somebody is feeling. We are going to empathize with the main character in the story we read. We're going to think about how you would feel if you were them. The next step of the design thinking process is to define. To define means to think about what the problem is. When we use the design thinking process with books, we are going to define and think about what the problem is for the main character. The third step is ideate. Ideate means to brainstorm solutions to the problem. So you're going to think about the problem the character is facing in the story, and you're going to come up with ideas of inventions that could help the character with their problem. The next step is my favorite step, which is the prototype step. In this step, what you do is you take one of your ideas of your inventions and you build a model of it. You get Play-Doh or Wiki sticks or paper and pencil, and you actually build a model of your invention that would help the character. The last step of the design thinking process is to test your model and test your inventions. We are going to do this by sharing our inventions with each other on Seesaw and commenting on them about how we think they would work to help the character solve the problem. This week, we are going to use the text, The Shortcut by Donald Cruz, to help us practice and learn and use all the steps of the design thinking process to solve a problem in a story, which is what we will be doing in Problem Solvers Club. Let's get to reading. This is a realistic fiction book. Realistic fiction is about stories that are not true but could happen in real life. The name of this text is The Shortcut, and the author and illustrator is Donald Cruz. He wrote the words and drew the pictures. We looked, we listened, we decided to take the shortcut home. We should have taken the road, but it was late and it was getting dark, so we started down the tracks. We knew when the passenger trains passed, but the freight trains didn't run on schedule. They might come at any time. We should have taken the road. The track ran along the mound. Its steep slopes were covered with briars. There was water at the bottom, surely full of snakes. We laughed, we shouted, we sang, we tussled, we threw stones, we passed the cutoff that led back to the road. I hear a train! Everybody stopped. Everybody listened. We all heard the train whistle. Should we run ahead to the path home or back to the cutoff? The train whistle was much louder. Back to the cutoff! Run! The train, get off the tracks. We jumped off the tracks onto the steep slope. We didn't think about the briars or the snakes. The train passed. We were all fine. We climbed back onto the tracks. We hurried to the cutoff and onto the road. We walked home without a word. We didn't tell Big Mama. We didn't tell Mama. We didn't tell anyone. We didn't talk about what happened for a very long time. And we are going to start the design thinking process with this story to help the characters solve the problem. The first step is to empathize with the characters. How do you think they would feel being out on the tracks? I think they might be a little bit nervous, maybe a little bit excited, maybe a little bit worried and scared. Your job right now is to go onto Seesaw and click on page 1. You are going to follow the directions by hitting the play button. And I want you to empathize with the characters and tell me how you would feel if you were them. How would you feel if you were on the tracks with them?